In many ways, what we don't know about our history is far more fascinating and freaking than what we do. Once something is proven, the discussion dies. But when things are still up in the air, the arguments stay alive, and honestly, that's where the real fun is. So here are 15 archaeological discoveries that scientists still can't squeeze into their supposedly genius heads. Number 15. Anchor Church Caves. The Anchor Church Caves in Derbyshire have always been something of a puzzle. For years, people assumed they were just 18th century follies carved into sandstone, nothing special. But now, experts are starting to think the story goes way deeper. New evidence suggests the caves might date back to the 9th century and were possibly occupied by King Eardwulf of Northumbria during exile. Features like narrow windows and carved entrances don't match 18th century design, but they do line up with early medieval architecture. Deep inside the cave is a rock-cut pillar that's nearly identical to one found in Repton's crypt just miles away. Historians now believe the site could have been the hermitage of St. Hardulf, a figure many suspect was actually Eardwulf himself. That means the caves weren't a rich family's weekend project, they were a royal hideout. And if the theory's right, it also links kingship, sainthood, and solitude all to one carved-out refuge in a quiet part of Derbyshire. But as we say, it's a theory, so who knows the truth? Number 14. The Golden Sunbowl. Archaeologists love saying the phrase "find of a lifetime," but once in a while something earns it. That's just what happened with the discovery of a prehistoric Golden Sunbowl in September 2021 near Ebreiksdorf, Austria. This thing is around 3,000 years old, battered, warped, and cracked, but still etched with striking ornamental details. It likely came from a late Urnfield culture settlement and was buried beside the wall of a prehistoric home. What stands out is the sunray motif carved into its surface. It can be symbolic or maybe even ritualistic. The bowl is very fragile, made from ultra-thin metal that's nearly 90% gold. Only about 30 of these gold bowls have ever been found across Europe, and this is the first one recovered in Austria. Inside were traces of organic material, believed to be the remains of a fabric with gold threads, possibly a ritual scarf used in sun worship ceremonies. This rare artifact is now heading to a museum in Vienna, where researchers hope to uncover more from its delicate form. Number 13. Bird skull burial. Archaeologists think they've seen it all, until something like this shows up. In Poland's Tunel Wielki cave, they found the burial of a child dating between 1750 and 1850. That alone isn't unusual. But inside the child's mouth was a chaffinch skull, and a second one lay nearby. There's no accidental explanation. This was intentional, likely symbolic. At first, researchers thought it was a Bronze Age burial based on others found nearby. But radiocarbon dating proved otherwise. Despite the more recent date, the ritual meaning behind placing bird skulls in a child's mouth remains a mystery. No similar burials have been recorded, and the gesture feels personal, either something deeply meaningful to the family or tied to a now-lost belief system. The lack of grave goods or written record means we may never know what the birds signified, but they clearly mattered. Whether it was protection, symbolism, or farewell, the quiet ritual buried in this cave holds more questions than answers, and nothing else like it has ever been found. Number 12. Göbekli Tepe Aboriginal Symbols. Back in February 2022, a find in Turkey stirred up a storm. Researchers now believe they've spotted Aboriginal Australian symbols on a 12,000-year-old pillar at Göbekli Tepe. If true, I mean it could challenge the timeline of human culture. Göbekli has already shattered expectations. It's far too sophisticated for what we thought Stone Age unsmart people were capable of. Some carvings might even depict a comet strike, possibly recording a cataclysm that wiped out the site's builders. But these new symbols are even more divisive. One matches a sacred medicine emblem commonly painted on Aboriginal elders. Another mimics markings only ever found on Aboriginal Chiringa stones. A few of Göbekli's stones might be Chiringa themselves, used as spiritual tokens among Aboriginal clans. The idea that these two civilizations were culturally tied or shared ancestry challenges everything archaeologists have accepted. It's much greater and better than the Luwian rock inscription and the mural at Shedel Hoyuk, which shows an aurochs hunt. Number 11. Hispano-Visigothic burial. People like to call archaeologists tomb raiders. Sure, it's a loaded term, but sometimes digging into the past really does involve cracking open a grave. Now, you won't believe it, but that's what happened back in September 2021 when a Hispano-Visigothic burial was uncovered at the entrance of the San Bernabe Hermitage in Ogo Guarena, Spain. The tomb was cut straight into the rock, wedged between limestone slabs. Inside this tomb was the skeleton of a man. His skull was still looking skyward. What caught archaeologists off guard was the timeline. It's a 7th century Christian burial, yet historians believe Christianity reached this part of Spain much later. Whoever he was, he may have been one of the earliest hermits at the site, likely living in isolation. Another mystery is the grave itself. Why carve it into solid rock instead of using the usual burial methods? This finding challenges the official history of Christianity in northern Spain, offering quite proof that the story may have started long before anyone thought. Number 10. The Konkan petroglyphs. In the rocky plains of Rajapur, just a day's journey from Mumbai, a staggering set of petroglyphs has been hiding in plain sight. Recently uncovered, this collection features over 100 carvings etched into hardened laterite stone depicting animals, human figures, marine life, and what looks like the shape of a boat hull. While the artwork's exact age remains uncertain, researchers agree it's at least 10,000 years old, possibly as old as 40,000. That timeline pushes these glyphs into the realm of the Upper Paleolithic. The scenes show people fishing, hunting, and gathering, clear markers of a hunter-gatherer society. But this wasn't idle art. For people living with limited time and resources, carving stone carried deeper significance. Maybe it was a ritual, communication, or maybe storytelling. The issue is that very little archaeological attention has been given to the site. Until someone invests in proper fieldwork, the full meaning behind these petroglyphs will remain locked in stone, misunderstood, and mostly ignored. Number 9. Polish pyramids. Pyramids aren't just tied to Egypt. Ancient structures shaped like them exist in many parts of the world. One of the lesser-known sites is in Kujawi, Poland. These so-called Polish pyramids are long barrow tombs, around 400 feet in length and dating back roughly 6,000 years. Until March 2021, they were considered isolated. But aerial drone surveys and soil analysis revealed faint traces of small settlements near the larger tombs. These villages likely housed no more than 10 families each, probably laborers who helped build the monuments. Excavation teams found bones of pigs, goats, cows, and sheep, suggesting that livestock, not wild game, made up their diet. Oddly, there are no graves outside the pyramids, no cemeteries, no burial pits. That raises questions: were all workers buried in the monuments, or did they die elsewhere? The absence of typical burial grounds around these long tombs makes the site even stranger. It's not just about who built them, but why no one else was buried nearby when their work was done. Number 8. The petroglyphs of China Lake. Studying or seeing the Coso petroglyphs in California isn't easy, not because researchers aren't interested, but because the land they're carved into belongs to a restricted Navy weapons testing range. Civilian access is impossible, which is frustrating because these 90 square miles are covered in thousands of ancient carvings, some of which may be up to 13,000 years old. The designs are mostly abstract, though a few seem to depict humanoid figures, perhaps even ancestors of the earliest North Americans. What puzzles experts most is their location. The glyphs stretch across desolate land, far from where ancient communities would normally gather. And the carvings are so enormous that they're best viewed from the air, despite being made in a time long before aerial perspective existed. It's one of the biggest collections of prehistoric art in North America, and yet so much of it remains undocumented and untouched. Until the military opens the site to archaeologists, much of its meaning will stay locked in stone, unseen and undeciphered. Number 7. Roman elite homes in Nîmes. In February 2021, archaeologists in Nimes, France began work on a new excavation site and hit the remnants of two high-ranking Roman homes. Back when the area was known as Colonia Nemausus, it served as a Roman administrative hub with an estimated population of 60,000. These two domus weren't just houses, they were luxury estates. Each one had its own atrium, reception hall, bedrooms, kitchens, and formal dining rooms. One even featured a marble checkerboard floor with underfloor heating, an ancient version of central air. Nimes today is still proud of its Roman history, but the level of refinement these ruins reveal is striking. The layout, scale, and materials show that these homes likely belonged to powerful officials, possibly governors or generals. Temples, amphitheaters, and a circus once stood nearby, forming the backdrop of elite life. The owners haven't been identified, but there's hope that inscriptions or artifacts might finally give a name to the people who once lived in the height of Roman luxury. Number 6. Korea sips natural elongated skull. When researchers find elongated skulls, they usually chalk them up to cranial modification, an old ritual where children's heads were bound to grow long and narrow, often for beauty or social status. But that explanation doesn't fit the skull unearthed in South Korea in 2019. It was found in a Silla-era tomb and belonged to a woman who died in her early 30s. Her skull showed no signs of artificial deformation. Bone and DNA analysis revealed more surprises. She was a strict vegetarian and had a cephalic index of 73.5, a naturally dolichocephalic skull, meaning long-headed by genetics, not manipulation. This is rare, especially for her time and region. Most Silla remains don't share this trait, making her an anomaly in both biological and cultural terms. Her elongated head wasn't shaped by ritual, it was likely inherited. Why her head was so different is still unclear, but it suggests that not all elongated skulls were man-made. Some people were just born that way, and that changes everything. Alright guys, now let's head over to number 5. Caesarea sips ancient trade web. In 2022, marine archaeologists found a stunning cache beneath the ancient port of Caesarea on Israel's coast. Among the finds were massive stone anchors, remnants of ancient merchant ships, and several lead ingots, each marked with Cypro-Minoan symbols. What's baffling is where they came from. The ingots were mined in Sardinia, inscribed in Cyprus, and somehow ended up in Caesarea, a trade network spanning over 1,500 miles and more than 3,000 years ago. The symbols on the ingots remain undeciphered, but their presence alone confirms contact between these regions during the Late Bronze Age. It's hard to imagine such coordination in a time we usually consider primitive. Yet these artifacts point to an advanced system of commerce between Sardinia, Cyprus, and Israel long before official histories acknowledged such global reach. These weren't just isolated outposts, they were connected, exchanging metals, culture, and possibly language. Cracking the symbols could finally reveal what was being traded, and more importantly, how these distant civilizations even knew of each other. I just can't wait for it. Number 4. The King Udi hammer. Some finds come with more questions than answers. The King Udi artifact, also known as the King Udi hammer, is one of them. Found in 1844 in a Scottish quarry, it's a solid iron nail encased in a block of ancient stone. The problem? That stone is from the Devonian period, estimated to be around 360 million years old. If the metal is man-made as it appears, then so much of our understanding of human history collapses. The artifact was analyzed by Sir David Brewster, a respected scientist with the British Association for the Advancement of Science. He couldn't offer a satisfying explanation for how a nail ended up inside prehistoric rock, and after his study, the trail goes cold. There's no confirmed record of where the artifact went next. Was it quietly shelved in an archive, dismissed as a hoax, or lost forever? Whether it's genuine or not, the King Udi hammer still sparks debate, and until it's relocated and tested properly, it's a mystery. Number 3. Aristotle sips alleged tomb. In 2016, after 2 decades of excavation, Greek archaeologist Kostas Sismonides announced what he believed to be the lost tomb of Aristotle. Found in Stagira, Aristotle's birthplace, the site contains a Hellenistic domed structure with marble floors and an altar at the entrance. Historical records say Aristotle died in Chalcis at 58 and that his ashes were returned to Stagira. The structure's grandeur aligns with the idea of a tomb for a revered figure. Also discovered inside were 50 coins bearing the face of Alexander the Great, Aristotle's most famous student. For Sismonides, the clues are overwhelming, but for the global archaeological community, they're not quite enough. The layout and style fit, the location makes sense, and the historical context supports the theory, but without an inscription or definitive proof, it's still just a well-supported guess. No body, no nameplate, no final word. Still, the circumstantial evidence piles up. If this truly is Aristotle's tomb, it's one of the most important intellectual graves ever found. Number 2. Aztec eagle sculpture. Archaeologists working at Templo Mayor in 2021 uncovered a massive stone carving of an eagle believed to date back about 600 years to the Aztec Empire. The sculpture was found at the base of the temple, once the heart of Tenochtitlan and considered the empire's most sacred site. Based on its position and style, the carving likely comes from the reign of Moctezuma in the 15th century. In Aztec belief, eagles symbolize the rising sun and divine power, often linked to warriors and gods. This particular sculpture, with its size and prominence, may have been part of rituals connected to birth, death, or rebirth. A chapel dedicated to Huitzilopochtli, the Aztec god of sun and war, stood at the temple's summit. This carving wasn't a minor detail, it was built to be seen and remembered. It's one of the clearest representations of Aztec myth in physical form, and proof that the ruins of Templo Mayor still hold powerful symbols waiting to speak. Number 1. Buried wooden road in Poland. In June 2021, road maintenance workers in Zarnowoń, Poland, were just doing their job until they hit wood. Beneath the modern road surface, they uncovered a buried wooden pathway over 100 feet long. It's believed to date back to the 18th century and once led to the old city gate. What's strange is the width, just over 10 feet, barely enough room for a single carriage, let alone 2 passing. That suggests it was likely a one-way route in or out. When archaeologists came in, they discovered even more segments of this old wooden network nearby. Based on its size and structure, it may have been one of the longest wooden roads in Poland at the time. But there are no grooves or hoof prints on the planks, which raises questions. Was the road barely used, or was it rebuilt shortly before being abandoned? Either way, it's a rare glimpse at historic city infrastructure hiding in plain sight, just inches below the surface. If you found this video interesting, be sure to like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon in the next one.